He was laughing before he even finished the story. His voice echoed off the polished marble countertops of our parents' kitchen, where everything gleamed but nothing felt warm. My sister leaned into him, hand on his chest, her laugh a polished imitation of his. Our mother smiled, trying too hard. Our father didn't look up from his phone. I stood at the edge of the room, a chipped coffee mug in my hand, the one cup they never replaced because it was mine. My name still faintly etched. On the side in gold cursive, faded by years of hot water and silence. She actually thought it would be a good idea to move back here for a while, he said, gesturing toward me with the kind of theatrical mockery you only develop when you're used to being the centre of attention. To get her life together. Didn't even try to lower his voice. That was the part that stung. It wasn't a joke behind closed doors. It was public, casual, dismissive. I didn't respond. I hadn't spoken much since arriving 2 nights ago. They noticed, but not enough to ask why. My sister flipped her hair and said, "She's just figuring things out. It's cute." That word hit harder than it should have, like I was a pet trying to walk upright. I stared at my reflection in the microwave door, blurry and warped. My sweater hung loose around my shoulders, hair tucked behind ears that still burned from the cold outside. I was tired, not just from the flight or the time zone. Tired from the weight of needing to prove myself every time I walked into this house. I hadn't planned to come back. Not really. But when the start-up I poured 2 years into collapsed overnight and my apartment lease in San Francisco ran out, I packed a suitcase, 1 bag, 1-way ticket. "You should talk to Ryan," my mother said, finally acknowledging me. "Maybe he can help you with something. He knows people." Ryan, the boyfriend, finance, tech, something flashy. His LinkedIn probably read like a TED talk. He looked at me then, and I could see it in his eyes. The slight raise of an eyebrow, the smirk that didn't fully form but existed anyway. "Sure," he said. "Send me your resume?" The way he said it, like he wasn't sure I had one. I placed the mug down gently. "Thanks," I said. That was it. No sarcasm, no rebuttal. I left the kitchen. My old room hadn't changed. Same pink walls, same bookshelf with childhood trophies no one dusted. I sat on the bed and stared at nothing. The suitcase was still zipped in the corner. Later that night I heard laughter through the wall, my sister's voice high and performative, Ryan's deeper, full of confidence, and then, through the vent, something unmistakable. I mean, she's not exactly employable. A pause. Then laughter. I didn't cry. Not then. I just stared at the ceiling and thought, I should never have come back. The next morning the house was quiet. I left early, told no one. Downtown was colder than I remembered. I found a cafe with cracked leather chairs and Wi-Fi that barely held. I opened my laptop, ordered the cheapest coffee and stared at the blank screen. And then I did what I had always done when things fell apart. I started building, not loudly, not with a post or announcement, quietly. I updated my resume, rebuilt. My portfolio, reached out to mentors, scheduled Zoom calls while sitting in public parks, my back against the wind. I applied to jobs I was overqualified for, and some I wasn't sure I could land. Days passed. I said little, came home late, ate alone. Ryan noticed once. "You're out a lot," he said in the hallway, arms crossed, eyes curious. "Yeah," I replied. "Getting my life together." That shut him up for a moment. 2 weeks later, at dinner, my mother asked, "Have you had any luck yet? With whatever you're doing?" I nodded. "Some." Ryan laughed softly into his wineglass. "What's funny?" I asked. He looked up, surprised I spoke. "Nothing. Just, it's competitive out there." My sister touched his arm. "She knows that. She's trying. Trying." I cut my food in silence. 3 days later, an email came in. Subject line, offer, lead UX position. Praxis, tech 6 figures, full benefits, remote first, and most importantly, my work valued. I stared at the screen for a full minute before exhaling. I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. That Sunday, they hosted a brunch. Ryan invited his co-workers. Networking, he called it. I hovered on the edge, helping refill juice and set plates. Invisible again. Then I heard it. "Yeah, we're looking for a new lead for the UX team," Ryan said. "Tough role to fill. Requires a lot of vision." I looked up from the fruit tray. My fingers paused mid-movement. "Praxis Tech, right?" I asked. He blinked. "Yeah, how did you—" "They sent me an offer Friday." Silence wrapped the room. He laughed once, like maybe I was joking. Then I pulled the printed offer letter from my bag and placed it gently on the counter. He read it. His name was CC'd at the bottom. His face changed slowly. Eyes scanned the page again, like it might have transformed. My sister looked at me, mouth parted slightly. I walked to the sink, rinsed a glass, dried my hands. "They said your feedback helped them pick me," I said without turning around. He didn't reply. My sister followed me into the hallway. "Why didn't you tell us? You never asked." I went upstairs and closed the door. No slam, just silence, and that was the moment. Not when I got the job, not when he read the letter, but when I realised I didn't need them to clap for me. That was the last time I ever felt small in that house, and the last time I ever asked to be seen. The days that followed were wordless, like the house had finally absorbed the weight of its own silence. No one mentioned the offer letter. No one asked what I planned to do. Ryan was noticeably quieter. My sister hovered more than usual, offering me tea, asking if I wanted to go for a walk, things she hadn't done since we were kids, back when our relationship was defined by scraped knees and secrets whispered under covers. I said no to the walk. I had already begun one of my own. Each morning I rose before anyone else, not out of obligation but instinct. I needed time to think without anyone watching me. I would walk down to the lake, where fog still hugged the surface and ducks floated like secrets just out of reach. I didn't bring my phone. I didn't need music. I listened to the soft rhythm of my own breath and tried to remember when I had last felt peace. Maybe never. Not fully. Because even in the best moments, there had always been an edge. A tiny voice reminding me I was the lesser sibling. The one who left but came back. The one with ambition but no applause. I sat on that park bench and let those memories stretch out in front of me. Birthday dinners where no one noticed my absence. Christmas mornings where my name wasn't on a single gift because they weren't sure what I needed. Phone calls that went unanswered. Messages left unread. Rent I paid for my parents. House during COVID, never mentioned again. I thought about the savings I dipped into when my father needed surgery, and insurance didn't cover it all. About the Amazon gift cards I sent to my sister, just because and when I found out she was between jobs, and how not once, not one time, did any of them say thank you. Gratitude had always felt like a currency they didn't believe I deserved, and maybe I accepted that for too long. Maybe I thought if I just kept giving, they'd see me, value me, love me in a way that felt real. But I saw it clearly now. They didn't see me because they didn't look. Not really, and I had stopped asking them to, so I started shifting. Small things first. I logged into the bank account I used to auto-pay the utilities on their house. Click. Cancel. I drafted an email to the car insurance company, removed myself, as guarantor on the policy for my sister's vehicle. Click. Sent. I pulled out an old leather-bound notebook I hadn't used since college. Inside it, I wrote a simple question. What if you stopped giving to people who only noticed when you stopped? And below that, I began to list the boundaries I had never set. I will not answer calls past 9 p.m. I will not explain my career to people who dismiss it. I will not be guilted into giving because it's easier than saying no. I will not visit out of obligation. I will not stay where I am not celebrated. Each word was a brick. And by the time I closed the notebook, I had built a wall, sturdy enough to keep my peace inside. Back in the house, things shifted. Subtle but certain. My mother stopped reminding me to clean up after myself when I barely used a dish. My father made small talk at dinner like we were strangers at a wedding table. Ryan avoided eye contact altogether. My sister remained soft. Uneasy, like she didn't know which side to pick. One evening she knocked on my door. "Got a minute?" I nodded. She sat on the edge of the bed, hands folded. The silence between us was the most honest we'd shared in years. "Why didn't you tell me you were applying there?" she asked. "Because you would have told Ryan." She didn't argue, just looked down. "He's proud, sometimes too much." I waited, but he didn't mean to make you feel small. I tilted my head. He didn't have to mean it. He just had to do it. She nodded slowly. "You're right." And in that moment, I saw her differently, not as the golden child, or the girl who always had the family's favour, just a woman trying to understand the hurt she never had to carry. We didn't hug, didn't cry. But she stood up, placed a hand gently on my shoulder, and left. It was the first, real thing she'd done in years. That night, I slept without dreams. The next morning I booked a flight. When I came downstairs with my suitcase, my mother blinked. "You're leaving?" "Yes." "You didn't say anything. Neither did you." My father looked up, brow furrowed. "You don't want to stay for your sister's engagement dinner?" "No." Ryan walked in at that moment, tucking in his shirt. When he saw the suitcase, he paused. "Heading out?" I nodded. New job, new city, new boundaries. He opened his mouth to speak. Closed it. I walked past him without waiting. Outside, the air smelled like frost and early beginnings. I didn't turn around. Not when I reached the car. Not when I buckled the seatbelt. Not when the driver pulled away. In the airport lounge, I opened my notebook again. Under the list of boundaries, I wrote, "You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing peace." Then I closed it. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister. "I understand. Now. I'm sorry. For everything." I stared at it for a long time. Then typed, "Thank you." Not because it fixed everything, but because she said it without me asking. That was the quiet I had earned, and from that moment I replied only to peace. No more proving, no more performing, just a woman who had finally remembered her worth and quietly stepped into it. 3 months later, I stood in the glass atrium of Praxis Tech's new West Coast office, watching a group of interns nervously fidget through their onboarding packets. The sun cut through the high windows in sharp slants, painting golden lines. On the polished concrete floor, everything was quiet, calm, efficient. No one knew my name yet. That was about to change. "Hey, you're Ava, right?" one of the coordinators asked. I nodded. "You'll be meeting your new team in 15. Want a quick tour first?" "No," I said with a smile. "I think I'll just walk in." The coordinator blinked, then nodded politely. I walked toward the large conference room, my steps echoing softly. Inside, the design leads were already gathered. UX, UI, brand, product. A few faces turned toward me with professional curiosity. One of them didn't, Ryan. His posture stiffened just slightly. His fingers paused above his laptop keyboard. He looked up slowly, as if he had convinced himself, I might not really be there. "Good morning," I said, placing my notebook on the table. "I'm Ava. I'll be leading this team. Let's keep it simple and collaborative. Titles aside, I care about output, not ego." There was a pause, then nods, murmurs of agreement. Ryan didn't speak. He looked unsure. For the first time, I saw it. A crack in his carefully composed armour. He had always been the one with the quick response, the dominant opinion. But now in this room, I wasn't his sister's project. I was his superior. The meeting continued. I made notes, asked questions, led without raising my voice. When it ended, everyone stood, gathering laptops and bottles. Ryan lingered. "Did you know I was interviewing here?" he asked finally. "No," I said. I didn't need to. He studied me. So this wasn't about proving something. I smiled faintly. Not to you. He looked down, then nodded once before walking out. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't even awkward. It was just the truth standing on its own. A week later, I ran into one of the founders in the elevator. We chatted briefly about team culture, future design goals. As the doors opened, he said casually, "By the way, Ryan." Said he used to know you. From your sister, right? Funny how things turn out. I nodded. Yeah, funny. By the end of the quarter, I had restructured the team and quietly phased Ryan into a support role that better suited his temperament. There was no meeting, no demotion announcement, just an update in the org chart. His work continued, his voice softened in meetings. He showed up on time and left early. I never raised mine. Meanwhile, back home, the group chat lit up with family, updates. My sister sent a picture of her new apartment, all white walls and ring lights. Influencer dreams in full swing. My mother sent a forwarded chain message with prayers for prosperity. My father liked both. No one asked where I was, but they knew. Then, late one evening, I got a voice note from my sister. Hey, weird thing. Ryan's been really quiet lately. Says work is stressful. You know anything about that? I didn't respond. Instead, I opened a new tab and completed the annual performance reviews. Ryan. Consistent, steady contributor. Needs guidance but shows potential with proper structure. Fair. Honest. Kind. The karma wasn't in his fall. It was in my refusal to push him. At the holiday party, he approached me near the dessert table. You really are good at this, he said. Good. At what? Leading. Building things. I thanked him. He hesitated like he wanted to say more. Maybe explain. Maybe apologize. But I didn't give him the space, because forgiveness is not a performance. It's a private decision, and I had already made mine. Back in my apartment, I lit a candle and opened the notebook again. On a new page, I wrote, Poise is the quietest form of power. Then I closed it. No posts, no announcements, no retribution, just the quiet shift of gravity. When you finally step into your own name and let them feel the absence of needing to be seen. It was spring again by the time my name surfaced in the family group chat. A message from my mother, dropped between forwarded wellness tips and outdated memes. Ava, your sister says you're in town. You should stop by. We're planning a little family dinner next week, just us. No Ryan. No Ryan. Interesting. I hadn't told anyone I was back. I was in town for a leadership summit. 48 hours, 1 keynote, 2 investor dinners, nothing more. Still somehow, word had travelled, as it always did. That evening, I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied, Thanks, I'll let you know. I didn't. 2 days later, another message from my sister. Hey, Mum's really hoping you come, Dad too. They've been different. I think they miss you. The implication was familiar. When they wanted something, they remembered how to miss you. I didn't answer that one either. Instead, I finished my speech, smiled through the applause, and caught an early flight home. Not to the house I grew up in, but to the apartment I had furnished by myself. Warm light, shelves full of books I actually read, and silence that didn't ache. A week later, the doorbell rang. It was my father. For a second, I didn't move. I hadn't seen him outside of family functions in years. He looked smaller somehow. Greyer. Not weak, just unsure of his place. Can I come in? He asked, hands in his pockets. I stepped aside. He looked around like he didn't know what to say. Then finally, Your mother's been upset. She thinks you're punishing her. I poured tea. No sugar, just the way he used to make it. I'm not punishing anyone, I said. Then why the distance? I turned to him slowly. Because space is the only thing you respected. He didn't argue, just nodded. She wanted me to ask you something, he said. She wants to know if you'd consider helping with the house. They're struggling with the mortgage. There it was, the ask. Not about feelings, or apology, or understanding. Just another transaction dressed in sentiment. I walked to the drawer, pulled out an old envelope and handed it to him. Inside were the receipts, every payment, every wire transfer, every silent contribution I made when I was the invisible backbone. If raising me was an investment, I said, we can calculate it line by line. He didn't open the envelope, just held it. That's not what I meant. I know, I said, but it's what you asked. He left soon after. No anger, no drama, just quiet understanding that the old script wouldn't work anymore. 3 days later, my sister called. I know they're a lot, she said. They are. But they're still our parents. That doesn't make them safe. Silence. Then she said softly, You're different now. No, I replied. I'm the same. You're just seeing me clearly for the first time. She sighed. Will I still see you? When it makes sense, not out of guilt, not out of habit. Just when. It feels right, and she accepted that. Maybe for the first time she accepted me. The next holiday came and went. No pressure. No call. I spent the morning by the window, coffee in hand, sunlight filtering through linen curtains. Peace didn't feel dramatic. It didn't roar. It hummed. I opened my notebook again. On the last page I wrote, You don't owe closeness to the people who taught you distance. Then I closed it for the last time. There were no apologies written, no reconciliations signed, just boundaries set like quiet fences around my sanity. And when the world spun on without needing a performance, I finally knew I had never needed revenge, just the freedom to choose who I let into my peace. That was enough.